Welcome to Concept Craft. We are presenting step-by-step videos training to crack your certification exam, so you can gain the confidence to take on any accounting challenge. Now let's begin our today's lesson.
Working with corporate credit cards. Learning outcomes. In this lesson, we'll cover working with corporate credit cards in QuickBooks Online. Topics: what's involved with managing corporate credit cards? Creating new credit card accounts in QuickBooks Online. Linking the non-primary subaccounts to bank feeds. Decide if and how to link the primary subaccount to bank feeds. Recording payments using an expense transaction. Recording payments by creating a rule to post them to the primary subaccount. Reconciling the parent account. Reviewing the subaccount balances. Beyond a single bank account. With QuickBooks Online, linking and managing single credit cards is straightforward for most clients. However, some clients may prefer to issue corporate credit cards to their different team members and track the payments done on these together. How can QuickBooks Online help? With QuickBooks Online, you can set up multiple cardholder accounts and connect them under one parent account, but the setup is slightly more complicated than with a single bank account. This is where clients may need your support and expertise. In this lesson, we'll show how to work with corporate credit cards, record payments, and reconcile the parent account. What's involved with managing corporate credit cards? Working with corporate credit cards in QuickBooks Online involves doing the same tasks as you would with any bank or credit card account. You need to set up credit card accounts and connect them to the appropriate cardholder account. Review and add or exclude transactions from the bank feeds. Record any payments made to the credit card account. Reconcile the account when the credit card statements come in. However, there are some unique aspects to how corporate credit cards work that affect how you set them up and manage them in QuickBooks Online. What's different about working with corporate credit cards? With corporate credit cards, one card is usually designated as the primary, or master, card. It may be a card to which only payments and fees are applied, so no purchase transactions, but it may also be the account held by the primary cardholder, the person who applied for the corporate card. In that case, credit card payments and that person's purchases will be posted to the card. Additional credit cards are then issued to individuals in the client's organization as required. A setup with 3 cardholders would be something like this: credit card, account designation, purpose, master cardholder card, primary, taking payments, making purchases if required, cardholder number 2 card, non-primary, making purchases, cardholder number 3 card, non-primary, making purchases. How does this affect the way you set up corporate credit card accounts in QuickBooks Online? To set up corporate credit card accounts with multiple cardholders in QuickBooks Online, you create a new parent account and add the individual cardholder accounts, including the primary/master card, as subaccounts to the parent account. You then connect each subaccount to the relevant bank feed from the credit card company. However, you don't connect the parent account to a bank feed. If you did this, you wouldn't be able to connect bank feeds to the subaccounts. Find out more about how to set up and connect accounts in the next 2 sections. Creating new credit card accounts in QuickBooks Online. To set up corporate credit card accounts with multiple cardholders, create a new parent account and then add subaccounts to it. Select the headings to find out how to create a parent account and subaccounts. Creating a parent account. Creating individual subaccounts. Creating a parent account. Start by creating a parent account. To do this, follow the usual procedure for creating an account from the chart of accounts. Select credit card as the account type. To help you identify this account from the others, give the account a unique name. For example, you could call it Parent, together with the credit card business name, for example, BOA for Bank of America. You can add a similar unique reference in the description field, although this isn't necessary. Leave the "When do you want to start tracking your finances" drop-down blank. Now you can add the individual credit cards as subaccounts. Select Save and New. Creating individual subaccounts. Now add all the cardholder accounts as subaccounts, starting with the subaccount that will be designated as the primary. Remember, the primary subaccount could be the master cardholder credit card account that only has payments, and possibly fees, posting to it. Otherwise, it could be a card that has both payment and purchase transactions posting to it. To create the primary subaccount, give the account a unique name, so you can easily identify it when you're recording transactions. For example, you could add the last 4 digits of the cardholder account to the name. As this is the primary subaccount, you may also find it helpful to call it primary. Select the subaccount checkbox and choose the parent account from the list. Select Save and New. Continue to add the remaining cardholder accounts as subaccounts, giving each one a unique reference. The end result should look something like this. Linking the non-primary subaccounts to bank feeds. Next, connect the non-primary subaccounts to the appropriate cardholder account of the credit card company. This will link them to the bank feeds. Note that you're not going to connect the primary subaccount yet. You need to connect any non-primary subaccounts for credit cards that have purchase transactions. To do this, follow the same process as you would when connecting any bank or credit card account. Because you gave each subaccount a unique name, you can easily identify each one from the credit card company's list of cards. Once you've connected the non-primary subaccounts to the credit card company, credit card transactions will come into QuickBooks Online via the bank feeds, as usual. Remember, if you've just connected the subaccounts, you may need to select Update to get all the transactions to show here. You need to review the bank feed for each non-primary subaccount and add purchase transactions the same way you would for any bank or credit card account. Pro Advisor Tip. Remember, you should only connect the subaccounts, not the parent account, to the credit card company. This is why it's best to set up the primary, master, credit card as a subaccount, so you can record payment transactions. We'll explore how to connect the primary subaccount in the next section. Decide if and how to link the primary subaccount to bank feeds. This is where it gets interesting. Whether you connect the primary subaccount to the credit card company, and which transactions you add from the bank feed, depends on how you're going to record payments in QuickBooks Online. Whether the credit card set up on the primary subaccount is used for recording payments only, or if it's also used to make purchases. Select each header to find out about the different ways to record payments, and whether you need to link the primary subaccount to the bank feeds. Methods for recording payments. Summary of bank feed connection options. Methods for recording payments. There are 2 recommended methods for recording payments. The method you opt to use determines what you do with payment transactions that come in via the bank feed from the paying bank account. Method 1. Enter payments manually by creating an expense transaction from the payment bank account to split them between the different subaccounts. This is a good way to record payments if you're paying off the full credit card statement balance and want to split the payment between subaccounts. Should you link the primary subaccount to the bank feeds? This depends on whether the primary subaccount is used for recording payments only, or if it's also used to make purchases. If the primary credit card is used for both purchases and payments, connect the primary subaccount to the credit card company. Then add the purchase transactions, but not the payment transactions, to QuickBooks Online. You'll be adding payment transactions manually, so you need to exclude them from being added to QuickBooks Online via the bank feeds. You could do this by creating a rule to automatically exclude payment transactions from being added to the primary subaccount. If the primary credit card is only used for payments, don't connect the primary subaccount. You'll be adding payment transactions manually. Method 2. Post payment transactions from the payment bank account to the primary subaccount. This is an alternative way to record payments. It's a good technique if you're not paying off the full balance and or don't want to split the payment. Should you link the primary subaccount to the bank feeds? If you're using this method, you should connect the primary subaccount to the credit card company, regardless of whether the credit card is used for just payments or both purchases and payments. Transactions will come in automatically via the bank feeds. QuickBooks Online should then automatically match the payment transactions to the corresponding transactions from the payment bank account, assuming the payment bank account is already connected to the bank feed. Both methods are explained in more detail later in the lesson. Summary of bank feed connection options. Here's a summary of whether you should connect the primary subaccount to the credit card company, and how you should add transactions to the subaccount, depending on how the primary credit card is being used, and how you want to record payments. If the primary credit card is only used for payments, if the primary credit card is used for both payments and purchases. If you're going to enter payments manually by creating an expense transaction to split them between the different subaccounts. Don't link the primary subaccount to the bank feed. Manually add payment transactions by creating an expense transaction. Link the primary subaccount to the bank feed. Set up purchase transactions to be added automatically. Exclude payment transactions from being added automatically. Manually add payment transactions by creating an expense transaction. If you're going to post payment transactions from the payment bank account to the primary subaccount, link the primary subaccount to the bank feed. Set up payment transactions to be added automatically. Link the primary subaccount to the bank feed. Set up payment and purchase transactions to be added automatically. Next, you'll see how to carry out each method for recording payments, starting with creating an expense transaction to split the payment. Recording payments using an expense transaction. One way to record a credit card payment is to create an expense transaction and split the payment between the different credit cards. This is the quickest and cleanest method of recording a credit card payment if you're paying off the full statement balance. Remember, if you're using this method, if the primary credit card only has payment transactions posting to it, don't connect the primary subaccount to the credit card company. If the primary card has purchase and payment transactions, connect the primary subaccount to the credit card company, but exclude any payment transactions from the bank feeds. Select each question to explore this method for recording payments. How do you create an expense transaction to split the payment? On the expense transaction form, select the credit card company as the payee. For the payment account, select the bank account that was used to make the payment. In the category details section, select each credit card subaccount from the category dropdown. Because you gave each subaccount a unique reference in their name, you can easily identify each one individually. Enter each non-primary subaccount statement balance in the amount column. If the primary subaccount has purchase transactions, enter the total amount of the purchases in the amount column too. However, don't include any payments. The expense total should match the overall credit card account statement balance. What happens next? Payment transactions will now match when they come through the bank feeds from the payment bank account. However, because you split the transaction on the credit card side, you won't see the full amount of the payment in the primary credit card account. What are the advantages and disadvantages of this method? Advantage: it splits the liability between the subaccounts, so you don't have to create a journal entry to transfer the liability from those cards to the primary subaccount. Disadvantages: you never see the full payment amount anywhere in the credit card registers and on the reconciliation screen. You'll need to manually reconcile the split transaction. Recording payments by posting them to the primary subaccount. Another way to record payments is to post them to the primary subaccount. This method is good if you're not paying the total credit card statement balance in full or if you'd rather see the full payment amount on the credit card side, that is, you don't want to split it. Remember, if you're using this method, you need to connect the primary subaccount to the credit card company. Select each question to explore this method for recording payments. How should you post the payment to the primary subaccount? To post the payment to the primary subaccount, go to the For Review tab of the bank feed from the payment bank account and look for the payment transaction. If QuickBooks Online finds a corresponding payment to the primary credit card subaccount for the same date and amount, it will flag it, for both the payment bank account and the primary subaccount, as paired to another transaction. Here you can see the payment in the bank feed from the payment account. And here is the matching transaction in the bank feed from the primary credit card subaccount. To add the transaction as a credit card payment, select View for the transaction in the payment bank account, then select Record as credit card payment. When you add the payment transaction from the paying bank account, QuickBooks Online will record the transaction and match it on the credit card side. You could also create a rule to post future payments like this to the primary subaccount. To do this, set up the rule as a money out transaction and apply it just to the paying bank account. Set a condition that the bank text contains. Then enter a unique identifier from the credit card account bank details so QuickBooks knows that these transactions are payments to the credit card. The unique identifier could be the name of the credit card company plus the last 4 digits of the primary credit card. Select credit card payment as the transaction type and select the primary subaccount in the credit card field. Add the name of the financial institution in the payee field. Once you know the rule is working, you could also set it to auto-add so that neither you nor your client will even have to look at it. What happens next? While the total amount in the parent account will be correct if you follow these steps, the individual subaccounts will show their respective liabilities. This is because the payment is posting to the primary subaccount. To correct the subaccount balances, you need to transfer the liabilities from the non-primary subaccounts to the primary subaccount. Find out how to do this in the next dropdown. How do you correct the subaccount balances? You can correct the credit card subaccount balances after you reconcile the parent account. You'll see how to carry out the reconciliation in the next section. To correct the subaccount balances, create a journal entry or $0 transaction to transfer the amount of the liability on the statement for each non-primary subaccount to the primary subaccount. Date the journal entry as of the credit card statement date. Debit each non-primary subaccount for the total amount of their purchases, less any credits. Credit the primary subaccount with the sum of the liabilities of the non-primary subaccounts. The credit card account balances will now look like this. You could create this journal entry as an unscheduled recurring transaction. Because the total amount of the liability for each subaccount will be different each month, don't enter any dollar amounts in the debits and credits columns. You can add some guidance in the description field, explaining which items should be debits and which ones should be credits. What are the advantages and disadvantages of this method? Advantages. You could add payments to bank feeds, if posting to primary sub and it's connected, and payments match statement. You can record the payment as a credit card payment transaction. You can make more than one payment in a statement period. Disadvantage. You have to create a journal entry to zero out the credit card liability across all the subaccounts. Reconciling the parent account. Once you've set up the accounts, added purchase transactions, and recorded payments, you should reconcile the parent account. Do the reconciliation when the monthly credit card statement comes in, and follow the usual procedure for reconciling an account. Why should you reconcile the parent account and not the subaccounts? You only need to reconcile the parent account because all transactions in the subaccounts automatically roll up into it. If you reconcile the subaccounts, any reconciled transactions will disappear from the reconciliation window for the parent account. So if you reconcile one subaccount, you'll have to reconcile them all. If you have clients with multiple cardholders on a credit card account, reconciliation could be a time-consuming task. By reconciling the parent account, you take care of all the subaccounts in one go. What should you look out for when reconciling? When you're reconciling a credit card parent account, pay attention to the following. Charges and interest show as separate purchase transactions. If the primary account is connected through bank feeds, charges and interest will be added through bank feeds, so you don't need to add them again on the first screen of the reconciliation. If you added a split payment using an expense transaction, you'd have to manually mark the splits as cleared. The split should total the amount of the payment. You'll also need to clear a payment manually if you didn't connect the primary subaccount to bank feeds. You'll need to clear any journal entries that you added, they will offset each other. Because the parent account has no transactions posting to it, and is not connected to any bank feeds, it does not show the cleared date column. So you may have to uncheck transactions that have not cleared yet. For example, purchases may have been made at the end of the month that won't post on the account until the following month's statement. Reviewing the subaccount balances. With the account set up and reconciled, you're almost done. The final thing to do is check the account balances and registers to make sure everything is shipshape and ready to go. First, run a balance sheet report as of the credit card statement date. What should you look for? If you split the payment between the subaccounts will show their respective liability balances as of the statement date. If you posted the credit card payments to the primary subaccount, then created a journal entry, dated as of the credit card statement date, to correct the subaccount balances, the total liability will show up in the primary subaccount. The non-primary subaccounts will show a zero balance. Note that if you had to uncheck transactions at the end of the month that didn't clear on the current statement, the subaccounts might have balances. Summing up. Learning outcomes. Well done. In this lesson, we covered working with corporate credit cards and QuickBooks Online. Knowledge recap. The unique way that you need to set up and manage corporate credit cards in QuickBooks Online can make it seem a daunting task. However, with QuickBooks Online's advanced banking features, you and your clients can configure credit card accounts to make recording purchases and payments flexibly and tidily. Remember, to set up corporate credit cards correctly, you need to add each card as a subaccount to a dummy parent account and to only connect the subaccounts to bank feeds. You can then choose how to record payments depending on your client's needs. Next steps. In the next lesson, we'll cover handling failed customer payments or insufficient funds in QuickBooks Online.